the freedom land. Ain't gonna let discrimination turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Gonna let discrimination.
Good evening. Welcome to Sizzling in Mississippi on We Believe Digital Studios.com. We're so glad you're joining us today. It's a Monday, and on Mondays, this is what we do at 6:30 Central Time. Bring you this hopefully unique, dynamic show called Sizzling in Mississippi. And my name is Chris Young, and I'll be your host tonight. And alongside my co-host, Miss Maati, Jone, Primm. How are you?
Not quite sure today, Chris.
Oh, we got a topic.
Yeah, we do.
We got a topic, and it's not a fun topic, but you know, it's national news now, and we're going to talk about it. Maati has done a tremendous amount of research, and so we're going to bring that to you tonight. We're broadcasting to you live from downtown Jackson, Mississippi, where it's about 55 degrees, heading for 38 degrees tonight.
Yes.
Clear skies, and here we are on March 20th. This is spring?
Yes.
Today or tomorrow?
Today.
Today is spring.
Yes. First day of spring.
So how about that? And so that's the deal. And we just want to speak to you tonight, share with you about this tragedy in a neighboring county, the middle of. We're in Hinds County, and the middle of Smith County. I believe that the county seat is a place called Raleigh, and it's right about 70 miles from where we are right now.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So we want to talk to you about a tragedy there and what's going on with that. So without any delay, let's roll.
Okay. All right. Well, it was the 1st of October of 2022. So we're talking about 6.5 months ago.
Right.
That a young man from Fayette, Mississippi, travels to Laurel and then to Taylorsville, Mississippi, where he's doing work. He's there to do work for a company in order to raise funds so that he can reopen a restaurant that he had opened during COVID.
Back in Fayette.
Yes, back in Fayette. He has a child. He's a loving son.
Yeah.
And he is dead now.
He's dead. 25 years old.
25.
Black man.
Once again.
Very unique circumstances this time.
Excruciating circumstances this time because much of his body is gone.
But this young man heard the talk.
Yes.
And what did this 25-year-old do when he found these people following him in trucks? All white people following him.
Yes.
He didn't try to confront them. He didn't try to run away. He picked up the phone. He called his mother.
Yes. He did. He contacted his mother, and he told her through text messages and phone calls that he was being followed and harassed by 3 white men, who were using racial epithets and just calling him all sort of vile and vicious names and threatening him. And he had been threatened at his workplace. And he had a supervisor who was just awful to him, and he told his mother that if something happens to me, remember this person's name, because there'll be a person of interest, there'll be a suspect in whatever crime is committed against me. So his mother told him to go to the local police. The local police station was in Taylorsville.
Yeah.
And he walks in there, and she's on the phone listening. And he asked them to take him back to Laurel, where he's staying there at a Super 8 motel. They refused to do so. The police refused to do so. They say that it's out of their jurisdiction. It's only 20 miles away.
But he also told them what was going on, that he was being followed, and they didn't take that seriously.
He told them that he was being followed and that he was in fear of his life.
Yeah.
And they also told him that he could not stay there at the police station.
So, and he asked them, I'm in fear of my life.
Yes.
Is there any way you could give me a lift, meaning at least that way I'd be safe because you people are giving me a lift back
Right.
to my hotel?
Right.
And they say, we're not a taxi service.
That's what they said.
Because that hotel they claimed was outside of their jurisdiction.
So what?
Which is, I mean, I got to see exactly where Taylorsville is on the map, Maati,
Yeah.
but that county is 636 square miles big.
It's Laurel. And it's
Laurel.
only 20 miles away. So we're talking a highway. So it's less than a half hour.
So you do the right thing. You ask for help. You call your mother. You're 25. You call your mother first
Right.
and foremost.
Right.
Then you go to the police
Yes.
and say, this is going on.
Yes.
I'm scared. I'm in fear for my life. And they're saying,
Who cares?
yeah, not our problem.
Yeah.
What's happened? You know.
Right.
And no, we're not a taxi service.
Right. They
Okay.
don't question him.
Yeah.
Right. They don't know who's following him. They don't care.
Yeah.
Right. They don't escort him out of town.
Yeah.
Any of that.
Yeah.
Right.
And then on the next day, didn't he go back?
He did. He went back the next morning early. So he's somewhere in Taylorsville trying to hide out,
Yeah.
goes back to the police station. He asks them, again, they brush him off. He asks if he can at least charge his phone because it was obviously, the charge doesn't last that long. And they refuse to do that.
Yeah.
They brush him off and tell him he has to go again.
And that's when he called his mother.
Right,
And she says she's going to send somebody.
right, to get him.
But
And
something happened.
something happened. They decided on a location. When the person arrived there, Rasheem Carter was nowhere to be found. He was gone.
Which begs the question, with these people that are clearly not receptive, to protect and serve,
Right,
these people not responding to him, and so now he's gone. So are they involved with him being gone, or did he just panic or decide that these guys, there is no help to be found, I'm on my own, and he skedaddled out of there on his own? What do you think?
well, there was a photograph of him taken by one of those deer cameras
Okay.
that they put up in the woods.
Yeah.
And he's shown running through the woods. His pants are wet. He is shirtless. And there's all types of bruises and dirt on him.
Yep. Yeah, the producers got those pictures up now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. And so we see in that lower area of the monitor that, that's a picture of him. And he was identified by his mother and his family members. That is indeed our family member. That's my son. And he's carrying a stick and he's running for his life.
Right.
Unnecessarily running for his life.
Yeah, and I'm still wondering, were the sheriffs connected to that, or did he just say, look, there's no chance of getting help here, and he just bolted?
Well, they let him know that there was no chance of him getting help.
Yeah.
The police
Yeah.
were absolutely not only reluctant, they absolutely resisted helping him in any way.
But still, his internal compass was
Yeah.
go there for help.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me try again. So
Yeah.
second day.
Yeah.
And that was the last day of his life.
Yeah.
Right. And then, he dies. He's killed. He's murdered. Right? And The police say, oh, he was on drugs and hallucinating.
And they have the toxicology or something to back that up?
No, they don't.
Oh.
They don't.
So they just decided that?
That's what they decided.
Yeah.
Which is highly typical of that, but it's obvious that it's a lynching. And his body was found, his remains, I can't say body, his remains were found about a month later. His teeth are gone.
On private property of a white man.
Right, who was also a relative of the sheriff. A relative. You know, that's what you get, like in small southern towns, that everybody's related. Mm-hmm. And in this case, that was the case. Mm. And so they find his remains, the little bit that's left of him, and they put it in a box the size of a shoebox.
And some of the details that I read about that, am I interrupting?
No.
Some of the details that I read about that is that there were sharp cuts in the bones, not ragged, torn apart, but smooth cuts in the bones. Attorney Ben Crump at one point has said that there was no teeth in the skull, and also that he was beheaded.
Yes.
And and what appeared to be his decomposed penis was inside the skull.
And it's the mouth of the skull.
The mouth of the skull.
Right.
And then there's this talk with the sheriff. The sheriff gets questioned about all this, and his first response is, "Ain't nothing to see here. There's no evidence of foul play. I guess the buzzards got him."
Right.
The buzzards and the coyotes. Coyotes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But there's no evidence of that. And how is it that a body is that decomposed in a month? And you're talking about the month of October, where it's not even terribly warm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is what they come up with. They say that it was all on him, basically, and animals did this. But like you said, the cuts on the bones were smooth, and there was no jagged lines. It looked as if he had been chopped up, the little bit that was left of him. And it's so, they say that the local clan in that area is probably the most vicious clan in America.
You know, I saw that too in the Mother Jones report.
Yes.
And then I researched a little bit. Now, one site, but it's just one site, so it isn't like I had ones to compare to. They list what they considered to be the 10 towns or cities in Mississippi where there's the largest Klan presence.
Okay.
And none of those were in Smith County, but that was one source, and I don't know, how up to date that was. In fact, almost every single town on that list I've never heard of before.
Wow. Okay.
None of the ones that are prominent.
Certainly.
Right.
Well, when you're dealing in these small towns, these very small towns where it's majority white.
Yeah.
Taylorsville is 76%.
76%
white.
Yeah.
And 23% black.
And just to add to that too, their population 14,191. There's 636 square miles that make up Smith County.
Yes.
17% of the county lives in poverty. 82% of the population graduates from high school, and only 15% of the population goes beyond high school.
Wow. Yeah. It looks like quintessential central casting.
Fertile ground.
Fertile ground.
For hatred.
Absolutely. Hatred and ignorance.
I don't want to paint with too broad a brush there, but I mean that's what comes first to mind.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, statistics point it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. The most violent anti-black group in America, that chapter of the Klan in Taylorsville.
And Southern Poverty Law Center always puts up those hate groups.
Right. Yeah.
With still a heavier presence of Klan in Mississippi than other states.
Right. Yeah. No wonder we have what we have here. No wonder we have House bills designed to unsituate Jackson, unsituate black leadership. No wonder we have legislation in police departments that look the other way when people are in dire straits. No wonder we're one of the most least educated people in the United States.
Yeah.
Unhealthy, mentally, scholastically, and physically.
Do you know how to say that word with that bridge? Is it Chickasaw?
Oh, you're talking about Chickasaw in Shibuya?
Yeah.
Yes.
Shibuta's on that list, by the way, of that one website that I found with the 10.
I know. I've been there.
So so that bridge up there, and apparently different people over the years making comments about, I'm just listening to you talk about how even right now in the city of Jackson, there's white legislators from other parts of the state are trying to disenfranchise the voters, trying to steal the money, trying to take over the water, trying to usurp the public will in their own elected court system.
Right.
And yet that just doesn't happen in a vacuum here in Mississippi. It happens against this backdrop. And this one guy that they interviewed, I want to say it was 14 years. I want to say it was 1979, and he made a comment. Well, it ain't used as a bridge no more. That's just the hanging bridge, and the resident or intern or something that was along for the ride that day said it left the impression in his mind that he couldn't tell if the guy meant 50 years ago or if the guy meant yesterday.
Right.
And the guy made the comment that, well, every now and then you have to take one down so they don't, to keep them in line.
Yeah.
To keep them in line.
Yeah. Well, that bridge, the Shibuya Bridge, is one where two 14-year-old boys, same age as Emmett Till,
that's right,
were hung on that bridge. I believe it was like 1946.
Yes.
Before that, there were two men and two women who were hung on that bridge all at the same time. That's 4 people. Both of the women were pregnant in their 3rd trimester, and they hung them from that bridge. People said that as they were hanging from that bridge, they could see from their wombs the kicking that the babies did against the mother's womb because they were suffocating.
Yeah.
And at first, they told black people, well, now you can come get them. And black people said, we don't want to. You killed them, you do it.
Right.
But yeah, it's very much the hanging bridge, and it has a sort of eerie presence to it. It's a horrible thing. It's probably about more than a football field, probably about 3 football fields off of the main road. And so when you walk that, you can't help but imagine that this is the same walkway, because it's not paved.
Right.
The same dirt road that these black people had to walk to their death.
Yeah.
it's a long way.
Yeah. And then they showed separate pictures of the river, and everything looks peaceful and calm like right out of a storybook.
Yeah, but if you get there, you won't feel that way.
You won't feel that way.
You won't feel it.
And you've been there, so
Yes.
I hear you loud and clear. We've run out of time for the first segment, so we're just going to stop now for a bit of a commercial break, and we'll be right back in and keep going on this story.
For the hottest content in the city of Jackson and surrounding areas, check out WeBelieveDigital.com. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We Believe Digital Podcast is here for all your podcasting needs.
Have you had your Earthblend coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Welcome back to Sizzling in Mississippi. Chris Young alongside Maati, Jone, Primm. Just trying to share with you what's going on over in Smith County and really what's gone on and what's not going on, because a 25-year-old black man was killed over there somehow, some way. Gives all the earmarks of a lynching, and this was in 2022, the last couple of months of 2022. This is not 1945 or 1955, and this is just 70 miles, maybe even less, from where we're broadcasting to you live from Jackson tonight. So we just want to pick up the story. Also to remind you, if you'd like to call in, our number is 1-800-492-5186, or you could join us in the chat on Facebook, and we'll be happy to talk to you. Jone, it's all yours.
Okay. Well, again, we're talking again about a young man. His name is Rasheem Carter, 25 years old, who is no longer living due to murder by lynching in Mississippi, once again. This case smacks so similar to Emmett Till that it's a haunting reminder that racism is alive and well in America, and Mississippi is sizzling in a stew pot of hatred, racial hatred. So we look at this case, we know that there has been some protest in Taylorsville, and that protest has been met with virulent racism. Name-calling, preventing people from completing their marches. There have been threats against people. Again, you black sons of so-and-sos, and
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like it has no end. And what is the world supposed to think? I mean, NBC News has picked this up.
Right.
Mother Jones has picked this up.
Right.
What is the world supposed to say when, you have a sheriff, and from the photographs on the sheriff's Facebook page,
Yeah.
it appears it's a very white-centric organization. And what are you supposed to say? What are you supposed to say when they say, well, nothing here. It's
Right.
like there's nothing here to see.
Right.
It doesn't appear to be any foul play. What is the world? Do they think the world is just mindless?
But you know what? It's the local news that I'm wondering about. because there's been so little attention
So little
paid.
coverage.
Yes, so little attention paid to this. And last week, Attorney Benjamin Crump came and did a press conference, and they covered that briefly.
Yeah.
It didn't lead the news. It came on several minutes after the news was in broadcast, and there's no follow-up with this.
Isn't that, I mean, Maati, you know, I'm no journalist. I don't think you are either.
Right.
But my belief system says that, you know, like when you have these, you know, unaccounted for killings, and when it certainly appears that race is at the center of it,
Right.
I'm thinking everything in Mississippi is about race or is connected to race in
It
some
is.
way. I mean, wouldn't these news organizations view that as their responsibility to try to put pressure on the sheriff's department, to try to put pressure on Mississippi Bureau of Investigations? How come when there's a shooting of an unarmed black man on East Mays Street back in September, how come we don't have any public information on that? Do you think they're asking? Do you think that's part of their responsibility to put pressure on these entities?
Obviously, they don't feel that way.
I feel that way.
Yeah, they don't feel it. It's as if we're back in 1955 with Emmett Till's story. It took the black press outside of Mississippi to really bring attention to the story. It was Jet magazine with its pictures of Emmett Till in his casket.
Right.
You know, it was the Pennsylvania or Pittsburgh Courier, the Chicago Defender newspapers. This is what it took. And so pressure for Mississippi always seems as though it comes from outside primarily. We have a little bit of attention here, but there's far more attention paid outside of Mississippi.
A lack of transparency contributes to Mississippi sizzling.
Right.
Closed door meetings where you have an ethics commission saying, yeah, they can do that, even though they have enough people in the room to meet a quorum
Right.
for voting on an issue.
Right.
It's not a public meeting. And so, you know, stuff like that, it keeps the flames going.
Right.
There's no accountability when everything's done behind closed doors.
No, but that's the way it's done here. That's the way it's done. And just like we were talking about Shibuya, right?
Yeah.
Well, how much attention has been paid to that in Mississippi? You don't even hear about it. There was a book that was written about it.
Yeah.
There's no attention paid to, what's the name of that place? Centerville, where at the end of World War II and the soldiers that they thought were just a little bit too big for their britches in California, they shipped them to Centerville, Mississippi, and to Camp Van Dorn, thinking, oh, they'll learn their place when they get there. And they didn't. And because they didn't learn their place, they were mowed down by the army in which they were serving.
Sad.
So, this is Mississippi. I almost don't even want to, as racist and as depraved a place as the USA can be, Mississippi is at the bottom of that. I mean, it's even below that. It's 6 feet under that.
You know, I was writing last week in the Mississippi Link, Maati, and they're funding now refurbishing, upgrading the state parks. They're planning to do 5 a year to get them all straight, putting millions into them, to the state parks. I wonder the demographics of the people that go to the state parks to spend a weekend hunting, fishing, swimming, camping, making s'mores, you know, over to
Open campfires. Yeah.
I wonder what the demographics are.
Right.
But not one Republican legislator in the state has called for a hearing on the $100 million embezzlement of TANF dollars,
No.
designed to help the poorest people in the poorest state.
Right.
So to me, it all dovetails just with what you're saying, the things that go on here. And this is why we're trying to bring you this show, because Mississippi is sizzling, and Mississippi is still burning. And, it's not that there's not plenty of good people, because there are plenty of good people, but bizarre, wrong-headed, racist, oppressive stuff is happening day in and day out, and it typically happens in the broad light of day.
Right.
And that's why we're bringing you the show, to try and talk about it, to try and put a light on it. We just believe that the more people that find out about this, the more likelihood there can be for some form of corrective action, change somehow, some way. Maybe a lot of days, admittedly, it seems like a long shot, but our spirit is such that we want to do whatever we can, and that's why we bring you this show.
Yes, indeed. That's why it's sizzling in Mississippi.
Never stops.
Yeah, never stops.
So, and now I guess this sheriff, we didn't say his name yet. That is Sheriff Joel Houston over there in Smith County. The Smith County Sheriff Joel Houston. I saw one picture with the old sheriff and the undersheriff, so I don't know if they have a new undersheriff or not. Okay. And then there was a lady in between. I don't know if that was the mayor or the secretary. I have no idea who that was, but all three white. Yeah. And so now apparently Sheriff Joel Houston not answering reporters' questions. Yeah,
now he won't even attempt to lie anymore. And they're just threadbare lies, as Mother Ida B. Wells would call it.
And he's referring people to the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation to get their answers.
Right. And Attorney Ben Crump has said that he's asking for a federal investigation.
Yeah.
Because he wants to take this investigation out of the hands of Mississippians.
Yeah. Yeah, and that may well be what it takes, because to just totally turn up the heat, because they're just not going to do it.
No, they won't.
They'll drag their feet.
They will, absolutely. They will absolutely refuse to do right. It's not happening. It's not happening at all.
So, and along the way, I know they're going to follow, my belief system is, I want to believe that they're going to follow the evidence, the facts. They're going to gather facts. They're going to follow the evidence. That's what you want to hope happens.
Right.
And that includes comments by the sheriff and their staff and their timeliness and their cooperating with the family versus not cooperating with the family, and all the whole ball of wax. Yeah. So you want to believe that that's the case, but it would seem to me that anybody that has any history with the state that starts looking into this, any investigator that's right-headed, that's fair and open-minded, and starts looking into this, how are they going to not divorce their mind to the fact that this is what it is here in Mississippi?
It's heinous.
So it's a heinous lynching of a 25-year-old man, probably simmered down to one single reason.
Right.
The color of his skin.
No.
Oh, no. What is it?
The reason is racism.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, de facto then.
Right.
De facto.
Well, what it is, when we have to look at it in terms of what it really is, right?
I get it.
Because there was a time when, black people could walk the earth safely.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
And did. And thrived.
And thrived, right?
And still thrive in lots of areas.
Right. Because for us, being black isn't a handicap. Yes. It isn't a disability.
Right.
So the problem now is, if I walk in Smith County,
right,
will you murder me and feed me to hogs?
Right.
Right. Why are you doing that? There's nothing wrong with me being black. There's everything wrong with the depraved maniac who decides that he hates who I am, and he's a raving lunatic racist
Right.
who is out to murder black people. And so the problem is racism.
The problem is racism.
Right.
Nonetheless, we wind up with a dead white man, 25 years old, a father.
Black man.
Did I say white?
Yeah.
A dead black man, 25 years old, a father to a 7-year-old.
Right.
Is it a boy or girl? I didn't see.
I believe it's a girl, that she's a girl.
And he was over there trying to make extra money
Right.
at this, to some type of wood processing,
Right. He's a welder
a welder.
by trade.
And so that he could get the cafe over in Fayette back up again. Things went downhill during the pandemic.
Right.
And whatever happened, and now he's got to be dead over it.
Right. He named his restaurant, by the way, after his daughter. I just thought about it, Callie. Yeah.
So we're not telling a story tonight. This story isn't about 3 dead white people.
No. No. It's about a young black man trying to do the right thing and running into depraved, can't even call them animals because I like animals, so.
Yeah.
Just depraved individuals who had it out for anybody black and sat in the comfort of a white-dominated Smith County, which is next door to Simpson County and Neshoba County.
Yeah.
Taylorsville is a sundown town.
In 2023.
In 2023. A lot of people don't know exactly what a sundown town is. It's a town in which black people aren't allowed safety at night. Should we find ourselves at night outside on the street in a place like Taylorsville, our lives are threatened.
Fair game.
Yeah.
In there.
It's open season.
In there.
It's
Yeah,
open season on black people in Taylorsville.
No permit needed.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And sometimes, in Taylorsville, it looks as though this young man, Rasheem Carter, was probably murdered in the daytime. So there's just no safety whatsoever in a place like Taylorsville.
I want to take a ride over there this weekend. Find out what I can learn.
I won't be with you.
No?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. Call me when you get back.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, this is Taylorsville, and as we said, next door to Neshoba County, which is infamous for the murder of the 3 civil rights workers in 1964, James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwerner. Murdered and buried in an earthen dam. They talk about the fact that Goodman and Schwerner, who were white from New York, were shot dead. That was their cause of death. James Chaney, however, which they tend to gloss over, every bone in his body was broken, is what I've heard black people talk about. I've also heard black people say that James Chaney was also castrated.
But it's easier, apparently, for a lot of people telling the story to just lump them all 3 together.
Right.
Say
And
they
make
were
it
all
sound
killed.
like, yeah,
But it wasn't the same.
it wasn't the same
Different
at all.
levels of indifference.
Right, right. And it took them a long time to find the body and in their
Yeah,
bodies.
years.
And in the meantime, they found other black people who had been murdered.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is Mississippi. Yeah. There's a place called Horace Lake up in the Delta. And it's now fenced off into private property. And it's called Horace Lake because it's a place where white men who would either have raped a black woman or was in some type of, I wouldn't call it a relationship, but some sort of involvement with a black woman and decided to murder her, they would dump the bodies of these black women in this particular lake, and that's why it became known as Horace Lake. A place of absolute terror.
Just defies
Yeah, you can describe it, but it's still the description is still it's just inadequate.
Yeah.
This is Mississippi, and it's Mississippi today. So I don't want people to say, "Oh, that was back then. Get over it."
Yeah.
Yeah. If you get over it, you're probably going to be the next victim. We must be forever vigilant and remembering what Mississippi actually is.
How long should we wait for? Does it appear that Attorney Crump has made a formal request for a federal investigation?
He has done that. He also has private investigators.
Oh.
Yes, he's done they've done a private autopsy because they said that the original autopsy was done by Stephen Haynes. And I'm trying to figure out, how is he still working for the state of Mississippi? He is one that had two men were wrongfully convicted of a crime of murder and rape on two black men, young black men in their 20s, were convicted of rape and murder and kidnapping of a little black girl who was about age 3 or 4. And the evidence that was used against them to convict them was evidence that was created by Stephen Haynes. And they have this documented. It's on film.
But he's the one that did the...
He's the one who did the initial autopsy, according to Mother Jones magazine.
Wow.
How does this keep going on in Mississippi?
Yeah.
It's
just tainted from the start.
Just horrible. Just horrible.
Yeah.
So we have to look for solutions. We have to ask ourselves, what is it going to take?
Yeah, I love that question.
Yeah. And maybe on the next segment we'll talk about that.
Yeah, what has to happen before it can be different?
Right.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Really gruesome topic to be talking about, but this is the deal. So that's what we have to talk about. And we're just going to skip out for a couple commercials. We'll be right back with you.
Have you had your Earthblend coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
GarrettENT.com is a diversified firm specializing in recycled aggregates and crushed concrete. SocratesGarrettENT.com's recycled materials provide the construction industry with significant economic and environmental benefits by recycling clean concrete rubble into M.DOT grade rock materials. Recycled aggregates and crushed concrete can be applied to driveways, road construction, bank protection, parking lots, general bulk fills, and more. For more information, please call 601-896-0084 or visit us online at SocratesGarrettENT.com.
And welcome back to Sizzling in Mississippi. Tonight we've been talking about the murder of Rasheem Carter, 25-year-old black man in Smith County, Mississippi, just roughly 70 miles from Jackson, Mississippi, where we broadcast from. The sheriff quickly claiming, when they found the body a month later, decomposed body, claiming ain't nothing to see here, no signs of foul play, just downright bizarre behavior. But now, fortunately, this modern day wizard Ben Crump is on this case and now seeking a federal investigation to try to bring some light on it. We have a clip we want to show you from WJTV channel 12, and so the producer's going to go ahead and show that now. man, welcome back to Sizzling in Mississippi. We just discovered a little bit of an audio issue on that clip, and so we're going to rework that behind the scenes, and we're going to bring that back to you in just a second as soon as it's available, so you get the full sound in case you had missed that on JTV recently. And the producer will just let me know when we're ready to go on that. So Maati, how do we we begin addressing that problem of what has to happen? You brought up this question earlier. How important is it for this to be different? What has to happen before this can change? How do you begin that? How do we begin that?
Well, I don't think that we can assume that we can change the hearts and minds of people. I don't think that we can do that. I think that there needs to be stronger legislation. Obviously, we can't receive that from the state. We never have. So it's got to be federal.
Okay.
It's got to come from the federal. And we have to recognize this crime as a hate crime. We have to understand that places that are considered sundown towns are places of great danger for black people, and we should avoid them at all cost.
Would we ask the federal government to publish a list of these known places and broadcast that? I mean, would that make that publicly available so that nobody can do that, go around there by accident?
Well, it's like traveling into foreign countries. How you go to a website and they'll tell you if this country is particularly friendly to people from America, or maybe it is, but there's certain places where you can't feel safe. It's dangerous places, such as places
Sure.
in Mexico.
Sure.
But Mexico as a whole, fine. But there's certain places that you have to stay away from, and perhaps that's what we need to do here. Is just to call it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep getting in my brain that the more light you shine, sooner or later, that like the whole dark, the darkness can't exist in the light kind of. I just keep getting in my mind that the more publicity, the brighter the light that's shined on this dastard, heinous, ignorant thinking and behavior, is going to contribute to it lessening or it dying one day. I get that in my brain.
Right. I think that we need to train people. What should you do if you're victimized like Russian Carter? Should you go to the police, or is there some place else that you should look for? Perhaps in a place like Taylorsville, if you're going to be there, the first thing you should do is drive around and familiarize yourself with where are the black people in this town. Mm-hmm. Go to a black church, meet a pastor, and say, if I get in trouble, can I come to you and you call? Look for safe havens. Ask people. If I need to hide out, where should I hide out? It's almost as if there needs to be a return of the Underground Railroad.
I was just thinking that, and Tougaloo College came to mind because a safe place for people to go when they're traveling through the area. And then my brain says, wait a minute, this is not the 1950s. This is not the 40s or the 30s. This is 2023.
Right. But you remember the Green Book.
The Green Book.
Right. Which told black people where they could go all around the country.
Safe restaurants, hotels, churches.
Right. And Mr. Green was one that said that he hoped one day that his book would become obsolete.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Now we need a return of the Green Book.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would encourage people who find themselves in danger to find a black church, predominantly black church, and go there for help. Go to a black-owned business and ask for assistance. Someone like that will be more inclined to help than would be a sheriff's office whose cousin is head of the Klan, or he may be head of the Klan.
Yeah, he could be too. We got some comments coming in on the chat, and one of one of the things is, legislation alone is not going to cut it. Mr. Gray's saying the problem is we are a danger to ourselves. Until we do right among ourselves, no one else will care. That's a interesting.
No,
that makes my behavior contingent on your behavior. Conversely, I'm not so sure about that.
I'm certain that I disagree with that vehemently.
Okay.
No. First of all, crime happens within every community.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's just a just.
The next comment coming in saying, "Don't blame the victim."
Thank you.
That's a sign of some oppressor syndrome. The hearts and minds of evil, blatant white racists are the problem! Exclamation point. Many of our social behaviors and problems are the result and symptom of the internalized racism. Whew. Easy to agree with that.
Very easy.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Jones.
It's easy to blame a victim because a victim is a soft target.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one wants to go up against a hard target if they can assail a soft target.
Even if things, even back to Mr. Gray's point, even if behavior in the African American, let's say black shootings or whatever, which we hate to use that word, but as an example to go to his point, even if none of that occurred whatsoever, they're still going to do what they're going to do.
Right.
So
exactly.
I mean that those are just become softball excuses. When you throw that stuff, is what I believe. Anyway.
Right. I agree. I agree. Yeah. Yeah. Can't excuse it, and it doesn't cause this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're rolling along. We're hoping to get you that clip. We're just working on bringing the audio back to that, and we'll hopefully have that for you. Were there any other items that could go on a list, of the things, federal legislation, the Green Book type of thing, the talk,
Yeah.
being amended to include is, let's research it before you even go to that town.
Right.
And find out where the black churches are, find out if there's a black restaurant or a black hotel or what have you.
Right.
And that type of thing.
Right. Where the black neighborhood is.
Yeah.
All of that.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because perhaps if he had known where that was, then he could have just stayed there, even if he weren't in someone's home.
Right. Right.
There would be an element of more safety.
Right.
Than just being in the white section of a horror of a city.
And Mr. Lewis, one of our absolute regulars, but even federal legislation can only do so much, which,
True.
Of course, we agree with that.
Absolutely.
But it's something. It's another
Right.
layer somehow, some way.
Right.
The recent example I think of is the farm workers in the Delta.
Mm-hmm.
Those they were improperly using visas to bring white people from South Africa up here to steal black farm workers' jobs away from them, and that's civil rights violations,
Right.
and that's a labor rights violation.
Right.
Well, those companies, and not only did their men get their jobs back, but they got their back pay back, and those farms
Right.
had to pay fines.
Right.
And so, it took a minute for all that to happen.
Right.
It took a long minute.
Right.
But without that federal legislation,
There you go. That wouldn't have happened.
So
There
anyway,
wouldn't have been that redress.
I know what you mean, Mr. Lewis. It just, but something is better than nothing, I think, is where we want to come down on it.
Unfortunately, yeah. We can say at least that much. Another thing we should say is that the children, there were a number of children, white children in Taylorsville, that were making jokes about the possibility that Rasheem Carter's body was eaten by hogs, that his body was placed in a hog pen. And they found that funny.
Giggling.
Giggling.
Children.
Right. And then the coffee shop, where men are gathering together, whispering, and the lack of atonement, the lack of
Humanity.
regret,
Right.
that just does not exist there.
You
It's like wrong turn
you suppose they're Christians over there, Joni?
in name
Maati.
only. In name only.
Name
yeah.
only.
Sinos.
Sinos.
Yeah.
Christians in name only.
Yeah.
But to have children making jokes about all this, that just tells you how immersed in the culture.
Yeah.
Maybe they even know in the womb.
From one generation to the next, absolutely.
Yes.
It's like epigenetics. Yeah.
Miss Jones is chiming in. Ongoing noise. Call out every location, every person, every group are guilty of perpetrating the madness. Broadcast it all over. See that?
Yeah.
I like that approach because
Yeah.
I say to myself,
Yeah.
somehow or another, that has got to create heat.
Yeah.
Somehow, some way.
Right. Right.
So yeah, we should find somebody to fund us a billboard, one of those new electronic ones.
Yeah.
And we just put up, like updated daily as far as the the most racist part of the state, where the last hate crime was, the ones that are known about. We don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, fortunately, Rashim Carter's family is seeking you can't even call it justice, but
Right.
whatever that is, some regress.
That's right.
Yeah, or
That's right.
redress rather.
Yeah.
Redress.
Yeah.
Many people don't. Many people go home, suffer in silence.
They don't bother.
And yeah.
Why bother?
Yeah, why bother? It's not going to work out anyway.
This, I'd love to meet this. I came within a year ago, Bloody Sunday. I came within about 12 feet. Wasn't even 12 feet. It was within 6 feet of Ben Crump. He had his handkerchief out, but it was hot over there in Selma.
I know.
And he had his handkerchief out, and he was dripping, and I just didn't have the heart to. I could tell he was on a mission, and I just didn't have the heart to stop him. But I wanted to shake his hand so badly.
Yeah.
I still look forward to doing that one day.
Yeah, yeah. We need people like that are going to advocate.
Absolutely. Well, we're running down on the clock. Are we going to be able with that clip?
No.
Okay, so there is a clip, you guys. We're not going to be able to bring it to you tonight, but there is a clip, JTV, and with Melanie Christopher talking about the story, and then there's another reporter that's out in the field that's talking about the story at a deeper level. So if you go to WJTV.com and scroll back through the older stories, or enter in the name Rashim Carter, that story should pop up, and you should be able to watch those clips right on the JTV website. So please do that. We got one more chat coming in. Not in Mississippi, that won't work because it starts in their homes, and unfortunately we have the forgiveness syndrome. And Mr. Lewis makes another point, because there is that thing, all this massive attention, but how long does it last? Right. And then lots and lots of people. In fact, that's one of the things I would always be quick to credit you with, Maati, because the way you maintain your brand of historical record right there, alive and well in your bookstore, where people can see. And, you drive down Fair Street now and you go by Marshall's Books and you see a big old sign there that said, Jim Crow go home, or isn't that what
Jim Crow must go.
Must go.
Yes.
Because you saw that stuff going on over the Capitol,
right? And
you grab a pen and put it right on the wall. This, play it like you see it, sort of thing.
Yes.
And that's really powerful.
Thank you.
You have to do all levels from all directions, not an either or. Strong point. You can't stop or be complacent. You have to be loud. Pressure on.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in tonight. Thank you, Maati, for the deep research through the articles to give you the finer points of this story that you're not necessarily going to hear. Again, NBC News is following this Mother Jones in-depth story. If you want to go back and read that, we're going to hang on to this story here. We're going to let you know everything we can find out. I might put in a records request to, MBI to see, do we have any information, what's the status of the investigation?
Right.
Give me one sentence. They might say ongoing.
Right.
Okay, but I want to maybe get that dialogue.
Yes.
See if it's possible.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you so much, everybody. It's a funny thing. I really don't want to wait till next Monday to come back to you, but we're locked in on Mondays right now. Mondays at 6:30, and trying to bring you this show. And we always open to your feedback, comments, suggestions, criticism, whatever it is that can help us to grow and provide you with the best possible programming. And we believe digital to be, to be able to meet your needs, whatever they are, for whatever you're programming. If you haven't been recently, please go visit the WeBelieveDigital.com website, see what's going on over there. Have a great week, the rest of the week, and we look forward to seeing you next Monday night. Take good care of yourselves and each other, and stay safe out there.